What's up, peeps? Today we welcome Todd Westra, the CEO of 𝐤𝐭𝐡 out of Utah. He's also the co-founder of the 𝐵IZ_GAMES, a lifelong entrepreneur kicking it off from his beginning days as a paperboy through today, where he focuses on team building and training. He's a father of 8, and this man is on legendary status for sure. Todd, thanks so much for being on, man. I really appreciate you joining us.
Hey, it's so great to be here. I appreciate you and your audience and everything you're doing.
So before we get into the Q&A, I love for my guests to just connect really quick with the audience, kind of give a little bit of something about who you are, what it is that makes you tick.
What it is that makes me tick is probably, like you said in the intro there, family. Almost everything I do is revolving around this little world that I created with my wife, and we have lots of energy, lots of kids, lots of all sorts of craziness around the house. And so life as an entrepreneur makes that more doable, I guess you could say, in a lot of ways.
Got it. It's been fun so any guests that I have on, and I've said this a couple times, but the guests that I have on my show are very intentional. I like to check them out. I like to learn about them. And it was really fun to kind of dig into who you are and see some stuff. I was really, really excited to get you to come on, because you literally have been doing this for forever.
Really?
So give the audience just a little glimpse of how you got started, a little bit about your journey, and then how you ended up being where you are today.
Right, for sure. No, I would have to say, I am the 8th of 9 kids. And so I grew up in Seattle, and in that area, there was a neighborhood that was built behind ours when I was little, and all these new kids were moving in with new money, and we were kind of like, my brothers and I were watching these kids get all these fun toys and all these things, because they only had 1 or 2 kids in their family. And we thought, well, that is not fair that they get all these, at the time it was G.I. Joes and Transformers. And we said, how do we get ourselves in a situation where we can get that stuff? And my mom just said, well, if you want it, you can pay for it. And so right then and there, my brother and I signed up to get a paper route. And, I was 8, he was about 11, and we built our paper route within for about 5 years. And we learned everything that I know about business today, I learned on my paper route. And that would be, I had a supplier that I had to pay to bring me my, my materials and things like that. I had to prepare things for fulfillment. We would, put flyers in there. We'd wrap them up in rubber bands and plastic bags and load them up. And then we'd go fulfill, and fulfillment was key. And then we learned how to do sales. We had to go around to all of our neighbors and push them to take our paper, not the other. And then we learned how to do collecting, and we literally, here's this 8 or 9-year-old kid, just picture this, running around with a little receipt book trying to collect money from everybody. And I look back on it today, and I think it's just hilarious to think about it. This 9-year-old kid was at my door collecting money. And anyway, we went from there to moving on to paying bills every month. And literally above and beyond those 5 things, there's not a whole lot that any other business does. And so as a really young kid, I learned all the core skills that you need to start and run a business. And I had one job in college that was an internship that I thought would be like the next phase of my life. And it was a big corporate training company, Franklin-Covey. And I was watching these guys train these multi-bajillion-dollar organizations. And I was working in the international department because I speak fluent Japanese. And so I was like trying to get into that world of Asia. And anyway, one thing led to another. And I was totally turned off by corporate. And I had some awakenings in myself, where I built another business during that same stage in the golf business. And I learned, holy cow, why would I put myself into this machine when I can generate revenue doing things that I like? And so from there, I literally I created a business in the golf world. And then I jumped into the audio video space. I thought home theaters and really killer audio systems and automation was really cool. And so I taught myself how to code, and I learned all these different proprietary coding languages, and like had a cool partner, and we ran that business for about 10 years. And then I sold out to him because I had another itch. I always dreamt of doing that international business thing. And so I started offshoring in the Philippines, and had no connections with the Philippines, but learned that that was a great place to hire people. And so started a business in the Philippines. Didn't speak any of their languages because there's a few languages there, and just kind of jumped in and started doing architectural drafting and 3D modeling and that kind of stuff, because that was related to my prior business. And then ended up somehow in the call center space. And literally, Frank, the goofy thing about me is along this journey, and then after I built that company, I had about 500 employees at one point. I learned how to manage large groups and do them remotely because I had teams there and I had teams in Utah. I really learned how to channel positive energy in teams, and started a team building company at the time. And so that's kind of my main bread and butter today, is team building, coaching, consulting business owners and business leaders. And it all kind of was just kind of this step-by-step progression. But most importantly, I just learned how to make businesses doing things I really enjoyed. And a couple times gone for funding, got burned a couple times, which I hated. And all in all, though, I had this really weird journey, and I didn't really think it was weird until I've been coaching a lot of different people through startup phase. And they said, what is the deal? Like, how do you even think of doing that? And it's just all mindset, and it's just all, you can generate revenue doing whatever it is you want. And so that's kind of my lesson.
Man, so what you basically, it's funny because you brought us along that journey perfectly, because everything you said, and you really highlighted it in your paper route, that they were building blocks. It's everything you did was like, okay, I got this foundation, and you learned how to sell, and you were in collections and all this, organization and everything and people kind of like, oh wow, like you don't think about that, and you learned so much that early. That was basically laying foundation for where you are today, which is really cool, because I think getting that solid foundation allowed you to build such a successful career. So that's really great, and that journey is that's just so amazing.
Appreciate that.
And so you've worked with a lot of people, different industries, managing 500 employees, and then all the. I mean, I know that recently you spoke to veterans, so you do a lot of coaching, all different types of not only industries but individuals and markets. What is, if you can say, hey, there's one piece of advice that Todd would love to give to the listeners, what's a piece of advice that you would give us?
It is age-old advice. Okay. It's who you know, not what you know. I did get a college degree. I've never shown that degree to a single person in my life. It's kind of one of those things where it was a step that I thought I needed to take in life. And I think overall it's done me some good. I did learn how to study, in college, but it is who you know, not what you know. I recently, in my team building business, the 𝐬𝐭𝐲𝐬, I do a lot of corporate work with Google teams, and Google is obviously a massive organization with thousands of different little sub-organizations all over the world. And I literally have just found a lot of joy in helping these teams kind of learn team build skills and all these different things. And what's funny is that a couple of years ago, I was having a really rough patch with my call center. I had a group not paying their bills, and I was floating their business basically for about 4 months, which drained my reserves significantly. Cash flow was bad, and I learned that I thought, man, why am I doing this to myself? Why am I floating other people's business while I'm covering payroll and all this stuff? So I wonder what it'd be like to have a job. And so I went to apply for a job. And this is the first time I built a resume since college. And here I am, I'm 44 years old now. And I was, at the time, right about 40 or so, probably 41, thinking, okay, I've got good experience. I bet I could get a job. So I talked to my friends at Google and they said, oh yeah, just apply. We'll totally recommend you and all this stuff. Well, I applied for about 15 positions and I didn't even get a single call back, not even one. And I thought, wow, this is kind of amazing. I wasn't able to even get a call back. And yet because of the people that I know, I can generate regular business. And that's when I kind of recommitted to being this super subcontractor, which is, signing on with multiple organizations within Google to do their team building and leadership training. And that's been what's funded me and my family for the last 3 or 4 years, is just refocusing on not what can I do to get a job, but focusing on who I knew and focusing on the relationships I had and converting those relationships into money generation, which is kind of my niche. That's what I do. I find ways to make money in almost any business. It's kind of fun.
And you touch on yet again just another really important topic, because we hear the term your network is your net worth, and
right.
And I think people, I think people underestimate that. I think you meet people and people are so quick to burn bridges sometimes, and you never know when someone's going to come back and be
100%
the person who might impact you. So I'm a huge believer in that, and I think the right people, like you said, you had a great career, did some great things, and you're like, I can make money based off the people I know and generate revenue, and that's
100%.
And do what you love too. So.
Right.
I think knowing the right people is super important. I think it's really important to be careful on any bridges you burn. So
100%, man. And I tell you what, it was a fun exercise to build a resume as a 40-year-old. But I'm glad I didn't get a job. I'm just so glad I didn't actually, do that thing very well, or whatever it might be. I didn't even have a chance to interview, so I don't even know whether I did it well or not. But it's kind of funny.
So you, I mean, today, speaking and getting in front of a large audience, and then doing coaching with teams and coaching with individuals and executives,
right?
And all the great people you get to meet, and also obviously having this huge family and having such a great family life and being able to spend time with them and doing what you love. What is it that keeps you going? What's the fuel that you're like, this is it. This is why.
Right.
Okay.
No, I think it's all mindset and all doing things that you actually enjoy. I meet so many people who are miserable because they just can't stand what they're doing. And, even in your space, I've actually coached a bunch of guys in the insurance space, and, it's kind of one of those things where you can look at it as, I got to go network with all these people. I got to go to all these networking events. Or you can look at it as, I love meeting all these people. This is awesome. And so there's mindset and there's knowing what brings you joy. And for me, I recognized at a very young age that the thing that made me happy, and fortunately my wife is bought into this, she knows me really well. And she's amazing. And she just looks at me and says, okay, every time we've got a business decision to make, or every time there's a new opportunity that falls in our lap, she says, okay, is that something that's going to make you happy? I mean, are you going to want to wake up every day and do that? And I just recently, just this last week, I turned down a kind of a no-brainer opportunity where someone was essentially handing off a business opportunity to me, and I was so excited about it, and yet I took a step back, and my wife said, is that something you're going to want to wake up and do every day? And I looked at it and I said, not at all. That sucks. Yeah, it's a good opportunity, but there is no way that I want to wake up every day and think about that problem. And so know yourself, know that you can change your way of looking at things to make it something that you thoroughly enjoy, like you do. I mean, I don't know any other insurance guy who does what you do in your attempts to network with people. I think it's amazing. And I think that clearly you're enjoying what you're doing, and clearly it's going to be paying off in big dividends as people trust you and trust that you know their business and care about them. I mean, it's a big deal. And so I think that you've discovered the same secret I have, and that is change your mindset, find a piece of what you're doing that you do really enjoy. And if you're not enjoying any part of what you're doing, just pull out, just go do something different. So there's a million ways to make money in this world. Do it.
Yes. And it's really important to be able to say no to stuff like you did too. I think that that's a key takeaway for anyone tuning in is it's okay to no is very powerful. Yes is powerful. No is just as powerful.
It's hard.
No is, it's not always easy, but you processing that and saying, okay, do I really want to do this? And like, nope, I don't. Okay. Then
right.
Move on and don't even go down there, because then all these, you waste time and resources and everything. And then you're like, I wish I would have said no. So
100%, man. It's crazy. It's crazy stuff.
So again, kind of looking at all the people you work with and all the people you get to interact with and you see things, and maybe it's in your team building or and with what you do with the Biz Games or what you do at 𝐐𝐿𝐻𝐻. But what is one thing that you would change if it could, that you see it all the time? You're like, I would love to change this if I could.
So I'm gonna focus this answer towards kind of my next phase, which is I'm creating some courses and a YouTube channel, kind of helping people understand the entrepreneurial mindset and startup mindset. And so my answer is going to be focused towards people. I think it will have an influence on a lot of different types of people in different stages, but that is, I'm learning right now that in a lot of universities and a lot of different training, programs for being an entrepreneur, one of the first things they are teaching people is how to get funded. And I just think that's the biggest crock of crap in the world. I think that if your customer base is not funding your business, you're not doing a very good job with your business. And so, yes, I think that there are appropriate times for getting funding and raising money. But I will say that 9 times out of 10, when I'm coaching a young entrepreneur or someone who's in startup phase or wanting to start a business, one of the first things that they think about is this, what do I got to do to get funded mentality. And I think that's so wrong. And I hear it again and again and again. And I keep telling them, if you don't have customers paying for your service, you're never going to get funded. And or that funding will be very short-lived, because once they see that your product isn't really hitting a customer base, you're screwed. And so, my biggest advice is you have to stop worrying about funding and start worrying about your customers. And if you start to basically demonstrate that you understand the needs of that customer, your business will grow. And it's all about representing that you understand your customer. And I think that's the number one tool in any business venture, whether you're an agent for different insurance companies and such like you are, or whether you're truly bootstrapping a new business. Knowing your customer is so much more important than knowing your potential investor. And so that is my big emphasis with everyone I ever talk to about business, is know your customer, let them know. How are you letting them know that you know their needs? And then hit it. And if you can't hit it, you're screwed. But if you can't convince them that you know how to hit it, then you're more screwed. You never get the opportunity to try and hit it.
Yeah.
So,
and right now, as you know, and I'm sure many people tuning in have seen it, it's easier to get VC money now and to get
right.
to invest. But like you said, if people aren't buying your product, that VC money is going to run out, and then what are you going to do? So and they own you. Yeah.
They own you. I mean, you now have no more decision making or a lot less creativity, room for creativity than you would have otherwise.
Yeah. So don't chase the money. I know. I see that.
Seriously.
So where are we going? Where are we going to be? What's your outlook? The next 5 years. I love this. Is one of my favorite questions in the show. You get to, maybe be historically correct, but play Nostradamus. It's a glimpse into your crystal ball. But where are we going to be in 5, 10 years? What do you think?
Well, so I have a lot of ambition, and I've got kids entering college phase now, so I'm more motivated right now to earn money than ever before. Basically, where I plan to be in the next 5 years is twofold. I've got a couple of personal projects that I'm working on that I think will be really neat. It has nothing to do with this audience or LinkedIn or anything like that, but I do have a couple projects that I'm pushing forward on right now that are actually international. It's kind of it's one of my selfish plays. I have had zero business dealings with Japan. Well, I shouldn't say zero, but very, very little. And I learned as a 19 to 21-year-old how to speak Japanese fluently, and yet I've never done business in Japan. So I do have kind of this last kick. I want to do something Japan related. So I've got this Japan business I'm building right now. But on the more visual side of things, I'm on a mission right now to help people who have desires to be entrepreneurial, how to do that. And so I mentioned to you offline that I just finished recording my first season of a podcast that's kind of a Founders Friday type thing where they're different founders from different companies talking about their challenges of starting and building their businesses and different mindset issues that go along with entrepreneurship. And I'm going to continue that podcast as well as several other trainings and free trainings, and also a couple of paid courses on very specific things like how to build a pro forma correctly and how to do proper cash flow projections and things like that. And those are the types of things that entrepreneurs need to know. And you can learn it by yourself, but having someone kind of walk you through mistakes and being real about how those projections work and look, it's a very different thing. And so I'm on a mission over the next 5 years. I'm kind of setting the foundation through this podcast and other things I've been doing lately. But I really, really, really want people who have that desire to understand the true sacrifices and true pains of entrepreneurship, as well as the honest to goodness joy that comes from knowing that you're feeding your family doing something you totally enjoy. And those are that's where I see myself in 5 years. Is I hope to have a really good podcast following. I hope to be able to get some big names on the show. I really hope to have, I would love to be able to know that I've got, several thousand people that have either opted into my courses or have learned something that's helped them in their business or to make their business better or how to just be a better leader in general. And so that's kind of where I see myself in 5 years. I just want to be able to influence people to know lessons I've learned. My face looks young, but trust me, my experience level is pretty in depth when it comes to putting everything on the line and just going for it.
Yeah.
So.
And that's a risk. I always talk about risk. A successful entrepreneur has taken many risks before, so
right,
I'd be able to put it on the line.
It's all a risk.
So where do we find you? So let us know if someone's listening that they want to learn more about Todd. They want to know how to look you up. Where are they going? Right.
Go to toddwestra.com. I am a double D Todd, so don't those single D's, you never know about those guys. Just kidding. No, but I'm a double, so it's Todd with 2 D's, Westra, WESTRA.com. And on there, you'll see links to my profile. You'll see links to the different trainings and things that I've just talking about and my podcast. And so really easy spot to go, toddwestra.com. or the Biz Games and 𝐤𝐭𝐢𝐨, those are both, you'll see links to those from my personal website. But that's kind of what's going on in the world of Todd right now.
Awesome. Well, thanks for being on. Thanks for giving us some insight. Very valuable. Best of, I actually hate to say luck. So wish you success on your podcast. And I'd love to see, again, just creating more energy around the entrepreneurial space, some positive and really thoughtful energy in that entrepreneurial space, not all about the perception and everything we see on social media. So great job there. Thanks
appreciate
for being on, and I really appreciate it.
Frank, thank you so much. Keep doing what you're doing, buddy.